Would you rather not continue existing? For a long time, that has been my mask. I desire more than 4 or 5 things, and I am loving life. How about science fiction films where characters face their inner demons on alien planets? You must be familiar with Rutger Hauer, one of the most iconic figures in this genre, if that's the case. In addition to being tall and blonde, his eyes resemble blades slicing through fog. Just calling Rutger Hauer an actor isn't cutting it. He personified rebellion, freedom, and that profound, wrenching melancholy that only those who have lived on the brink of death can comprehend. The life of Rutger Hauer was far from typical of Hollywood tales. His performance as Roy Batty in Blade Runner will endure in perpetuity, and he went on solo desert adventures in a caravan he had constructed himself. On that journey, I did not care about boundaries. Until the very end, people lived, fought, and shone bright. His parents, Tonka Melma and Aaron Hauer, were well-known actors and instructors at an academy in the Amsterdam area. His birth occurred on January 23, 1944, in Beek Holland, Utrecht Province, the Netherlands, during the German occupation of the country. In an interview given in 1981, he stated, "I was born during the war, and I think that's why I have deep roots in pacifism. Violence scares me." These 3 sisters were Rutger's. According to him, his parents were artists who neglected their children in favor of their careers. His relationship with his dad was strained. After meeting author Eric Hazelhoff Ralsma on the set of Soldier of Orange, Rutger came to think of him as a father figure. The Rudolf Steiner School was a gift from Rutger's parents, who wanted him to flourish academically and artistically. However, he left school at the age of 15 to spend a year at sea in the Dutch Merchant Navy. Since he was born without the ability to distinguish between colors, he had to abandon his ambition of becoming a captain before he could achieve it. Upon returning home, Rutger completed his high school diploma by working odd jobs and attending night classes. Once he decided he wanted to be an actor, he enrolled at Amsterdam's Academy for Theatre and Dance. To join the Royal Netherlands Army instead, he decided he didn't want to finish school. Although Rutger received military training to be a battle doctor, he left after only a short time due to his moral objections to the use of lethal force. Upon his release from the military, he returned to acting school and graduated in 1967. Rutger Hauer reached the stage early on. At the tender age of 11, he made his stage debut as Urasaki's in the play Ajax. He spent 5 years performing with the tonal group Noordkapani Theatre Troupe after graduating from the Amsterdam Academy of Theatre and Dance in 1967. He began his actual career at this point. While he was there, he mastered the technique and created his own language, the one that would later become his screen trademark through his eyes, movements, and silence. The year 1969 was the year of his first major transformation. Director Paul Verhoeven cast Hauer as the lead in the medieval action epic TV series Floris. He reprised the role in the 1975 German adaptation Floris von Rosemann due to the character's critical and commercial success. However, Hauer always believed that domestic success was insufficient. Turkish Delight, Turk's Fruit, Verhoeven's 1973 film, cast him in the lead role once again. Hauer became famous all over the globe for his portrayal of Eric, a genuine artist who loved deeply but felt profoundly hopeless in the film, which had a significant impact and was nominated for an Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film. Raw, untamed, and vulnerable were all feelings that Hauer expressed. His complex emotions were on full display in Turkish Delight, proving that he was more than a handsome guy. After achieving this level of success, Hauer started to seek employment opportunities abroad. He made his English-language film debut in 1975's The Wilby Conspiracy, which co-starred Michael Caine and Sidney Poitier and took place in South Africa. Hauer continued working on his job in Europe after his small role in the political thriller failed to garner much attention in Hollywood. While other artists may have given up, Hauer was stealthily preparing for something greater, not for play, but so he could be flexible and seize opportunities wherever they came. He built his own travel trailer. Rutger Hauer fought his whole life for the freedom and independence that caravan represented. It was more than just a mode of transportation. In his own words, "I didn't wait for Hollywood to open a door for me. I built my own door." He used this self-made caravan to travel across Europe and eventually to the United States, where he could settle down, write, and escape the mayhem of the film industry until he got his big break abroad. His fame in the Netherlands grew as a result of his ongoing collaboration with Verhoeven on critically acclaimed films. He portrayed characters dealing with unfair social situations in Katie Tipple, 1975, and a man torn between his morals and the need to survive in Soldier of Orange, 1977, one of the best Dutch WR films. This was the type of complex role that would later bring him great success in Hollywood. The 1980 film Spetters sparked heated debate because of the realistic depictions of sexuality, desire, and society's disintegration it contained. Hauer's willingness to take on projects that defied market expectations was on display in his role in Spetters. His tenacity as an artist was further enhanced by this. Several of these films featured his frequent collaboration with actor Jerome Crabb. They formed an energetic duo that contributed to the development of a new generation of Dutch actors. As an action movie co-star with Sylvester Stallone in 1981's Nighthawks, Rutger Hauer made his Hollywood debut. Beginnings were not easy. Nighttime shooting was necessary due to the challenging plan. Hauer found out about the deaths of his mother and best friend while filming was underway. As a result of his personal loss and the reality of the American film industry, he nearly left his job in Hollywood before it even began. His destiny, however, was preordained to be more significant. Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott and released in 1982, starred Rutger Hauer as Roy Batty. This allowed Hauer the opportunity to cement his place in cinematic history, which he duly accomplished. Philip K. Dick's book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, served as the inspiration for Blade Runner. The story unfolds in a dystopian future where humans subject biologically engineered beings, called replicants, to hazardous and physically demanding labor. The creators of the replicants decided to limit their emotional development from the moment of birth and gave them only 4 years to live before they could rebel. This was done to keep the replicants under control. On January 8, 2016, Dr. Tyrell created Roy Batty, played by Hauer, a Nexus 6 replicant to serve as a soldier in military operations that occur beyond Earth. After years of surviving in a violent and deadly world, Roy begins to experience emotions. Because this has never happened to a freshly created replicant before, he develops a strong dread of dying. Roy, along with 4 other replicants, is driven to escape by this fear. After executing 23 individuals in a remote village, they seize control of a spacecraft and return to Earth, determined to discover an eternal life extension method. Roy Batty could not have been a mere murderer, as Rutger Hauer realized upon first reading the story. According to Hauer, Batty embodied the very definition of paradox. On one hand, he was an exceptionally powerful fighter. On the other, his soul trembled and trembled before it was shattered. For this part, Hauer used all he had learnt on stage: painfully long silences, eyes heavy with contemplation and terror, and clumsy but powerful movements, like a young spirit learning to master its own body. In his role as Roy Batty, Rutger Hauer brought more than just villainy to the role. He shaped Batty into the film's emotional core, someone who stands for the resilient will to live and the glimmer of compassion in a society that has long since lost both. The portrayal is most effective in its final scene. It was possible for Roy to avenge his lover's death at Rick Decker's hands. On the contrary, he rescues Deckard by preventing him from plunging off a roof. Currently, Roy is sitting down in the chilly rain, clutching a white dove in his arms. The night before filming began, Rutger Hauer rewrote the entire speech in his head because he felt the opening lines were overly stiff. Two brief lines were all he retained. All those moments will be lost, like tears in rain, with no soundtrack, no flashy cinematic effects, only blurred eyes, a low voice, and the sound of rain falling on a destroyed rooftop. Those words saved Blade Runner and Roy Batty. The Tears in Rain monologue went on to become one of the most famous lines in cinematic history, and director Ridley Scott acknowledged afterwards that Blade Runner might have bombed if not for Hauer and that last scene. Beyond giving Roy Batty a human touch, Blade Runner demonstrated that replicants could acquire unique identities and feel genuine emotions. Their makers were surprised to see that Roy Batty and Pris were more than just rebels. They were also bound by a profound love. Roy loved Pris so much that he wished he could live forever. Roy was devastated by Pris's death, but he put Deckard's life ahead of his own in order to avoid getting revenge. Roy opened Deckard's and humanity's eyes to the fact that replicants were sentient beings, deserving of compassion, humanity, and full existence, not merely tools. Roy's passing was a moving tribute. He passed away quietly, allowing his spirit to merge with nature as he released a white dove into the overcast, rainy sky. It was a ballad about the transience of memory and the value of life, even for machines. Blade Runner was met with critical and audience disapproval upon its release due to the concerns about its pace, darkness, and philosophical undertones. It was rethought, though, and eventually became a classic of the cyberpunk subgenre, ushering in a new aesthetic for films around the globe. The tragic beauty of Rutger Hauer's portrayal of Roy Batty, a defiant, free-spirited soul, has stood the test of time. The film's production costs were not covered by its slightly over $26 million, 0 cents in US ticket sales. A lot of people thought it looked beautiful, but they didn't feel anything. Warner Brothers made a poor decision to step in, assuming audiences wouldn't grasp the plot. Deckard and Rachel had a clumsily happy ending where they escaped together, and they had Ridley Scott add in Deckard's internal monologues. Hauer and Scott were in opposition to the changes, but they were powerless to stop them when they happened. Embracing that sense of letdown, Blade Runner discreetly withdrew from theaters, joining the ranks of other summertime bombs. No one could have predicted back then that this film, with its icy neon lights, endless downpour, and nagging question, "What makes us human?" would revolutionize the genre of science fiction for the subsequent 3 decades. Fans didn't take to Blade Runner in droves until the director's cut, which reinstated the original melancholy ending and removed the voiceover, was released in the 1996. It wasn't the film's lack of strength that caused it to bomb. Rather, it was that it was way ahead of its time. Since Roy Batty was involved in a murder, he could be considered a villain from a legal standpoint. More tragic than evil was Roy's true motivation, his despair in the face of impending death, and his intense yearning to live and love. To see how unfair it is that people are given feelings but not allowed to exist is best illustrated by him. In addition to being Rutger Hauer's big break, the role of Roy Batty became his signature, giving rise to a previously unseen character archetype. Elements of Roy Batty appeared in every role he played after that, a penchant for defiance and solitude, as well as a quiet but ferocious darkness compassion. Blade Runner altered not only the course of science fiction, but also the public's perception of Rutger Hauer. His versatility in the 1,980 roles, from heroic knights to villains, rebellious souls to innocent bystanders, helped him continue to rise to stardom. He played the role of Navarre, a knight cursed to spend eternity apart from the woman he loved, in the 1985 fantasy epic Lady Hawk. Hauer frequently rode horses over perilous terrain while wearing armor weighing more than 20 kg during filming in the frigid mountainous regions of France and Italy. Interestingly, Hauer grew quite attached to the large and obstinate horse he rode in the film Goliath. He even attempted to purchase the horse after filming wrapped, but the horse was already booked for other projects. This nuance brilliantly portrayed Hauer as a man who was loyal, strong, and emotionally complex. His performance as the homicidal hitchhiker John Ryder in 1986's The Hitcher was another critical and commercial success. Hauer did most of the risky stunts, including the high-speed driving sequences, without a stunt double because he refused to take half-hearted safety measures. Originally omitted from the script, one of the most iconic scenes features Hauer standing alone on a desolate highway. Hauer had the idea just before filming began, and his rationale was straightforward. He should appear as if he were dead for no apparent reason. For all time, this terrifying scene will be associated with horror films set in the 1980s. Rutger Hauer played Nick Parker in Blind Fury 1989, which was even more of a challenge for him. One blind veteran who defends others with a sword is Parker. Hauer trained for 3 months with Japanese swordsmen and practiced fighting and movement while blindfolded to prepare for the role. Hauer performed challenging stunts in scenes where he was completely blind, all without the assistance of a stunt double. "When you can't see, you have to feel," he once remarked regarding the ordeal. "It changed the way I act." In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Rutger Hauer unexpectedly became famous in the UK, not through films, but through a series of Guinness commercials. In the ads, he wore black, was quiet, and seemed mysterious. In real life, Hauer hated the taste of Guinness beer and even had to spit it out after each drinking scene. Nevertheless, the campaign had a huge impact on Guinness sales, and the British public saw Hauer as a symbol of a stylish but rebellious elegance. His Hollywood career began to slow. His roles became smaller but spanned more genres. For Hauer, every role, no matter how big or small, was an opportunity to reinvent himself and never repeat a role. He had a successful comeback in the 2000s with Sin City 2005 and Batman Begins 2005, performing each role with restraint and the wisdom of a lifetime. In 2011, at the age of 60, he shocked audiences once again by portraying a homeless man who was angry and violent, using a shotgun to punish a city that was collapsing. This was more than just a violent outburst. It was the manifesto of a lonely man fighting for what little justice there was. His personal life, which unfolded behind the brilliant performances of his iconic roles, was a rich tapestry of emotions and fascinating details. Rutger Hauer was married to Heidi Mertz, a Swiss pianist, at a young age. The couple had a daughter, Aisha Hauer, in 1966, but their marriage quietly ended not long after Aisha was born. Hauer seldom spoke about his first marriage, but when he did, he discreetly admitted that his daughter, Aisha, who went on to become an actress, and her father had a complicated relationship. They were related by blood, but Hauer's nomadic lifestyle and reserved personality kept them apart at times. If Hauer had often portrayed lonely characters fighting fate on screen, he felt an indescribable loneliness in real life due to his expanding career, constant travels, and increasingly demanding roles. Rutger Hauer, a Dutch painter and sculptor, met Inky Tankate in 1968. During their time together on stage tours and in their early film projects, Hauer discovered something new in Inky: stability and calmness. The couple became close, but didn't rush into marriage. Instead, they chose to live together quietly, away from the stage lights and traditional expectations, for 17 years. For someone like Hauer, who didn't fit any mold, the freedom of that relationship became the strongest foundation. After nearly 20 years of being together, they got married in 1985, not because they needed the title, but because they had shown each other and the world that love doesn't have to be shown, it just needs to last. They didn't have children together, but their bond was strong. Inky supported Hauer silently as he traveled the world for his acting career. When Hauer started the Starfish Foundation to raise awareness about HIV/AIDS, Inky was one of the founders and later continued his charitable work. In a world where everything is always changing, Hauer and Inky's relationship was like an underground stream, quietly flowing through the man's stormy life. Inky was more than just his life partner. She was also after 2000, Inky encouraged him to devote more time to charity work. Rutger Hauer passed away on July 19, 2019 at his home in Beetsterswag, Friesland, the Netherlands, at the age of 75, following a brief battle with pancreatic cancer. The news of his death was announced to the public on July 24, 2019, following a private funeral. Fans worldwide were shocked and saddened by his passing. Many noted the strange coincidence that his death occurred in 2019, the same year that his character in Blade Runner also passed away. The significance of his renowned role was further enhanced by the fact that following his passing, his wife, Mrs. Inky Tenkate, continued to oversee the Rutger Hauer Starfish Foundation, paying tribute to her husband's legacy. Inky is notoriously reclusive and seldom makes public appearances or interviews, so little is known about her present situation. Rutger Hauer was a remarkable human being who dedicated himself to the betterment of society. His untimely demise was a profound disappointment for the film industry and his many admirers. Rutger Hauer's final years were jam-packed with creative endeavors. He was involved in a plethora of film, TV, and video game projects, demonstrating his versatility and unwavering commitment to acting right up until the end. In 2017, he voiced Daniel Lazarewski in the highly regarded science fiction horror game Observer, showcasing his talent for adapting to new technologies and his love of storytelling. In 2018, he played the Commodore in the highly acclaimed western The Sisters Brothers, where he made a great impression despite his small role. In 2019, before his health deteriorated further, Hauer did voice work again, this time for the character Master Xehanort in the smash hit Kingdom Hearts 3. This role demonstrated that regardless of the medium, he always brought a unique emotional weight. During this time, Rutger Hauer settled into a more low-key life in the peaceful countryside of Friesland, the Netherlands, and became less public. He focused on personal projects, writing, and continued to support the Starfish Foundation. He lived his life like a modern hermit, not completely removing himself from society, but subtly removing himself from the chaos of the entertainment industry, maintaining a free and reflective rhythm to his life. He passed away at home in July 2019, following a brief battle with pancreatic cancer. The news of his passing didn't spread until after a private funeral, reflecting the private nature of Rutger Hauer's life and career. Hauer had a nearly 50-year acting career, appearing in over 170 films, TV shows, and video games, known for his terrifying villains and unstoppable heroes, but also for imbuing each character with a unique humanity that left an impression that audiences couldn't get out of their heads. In addition to his acting career, Hauer was a committed environmentalist. In 1994, he became involved in the campaign to free Paul Watson, the co-founder of Greenpeace, who had been jailed for opposing illegal whaling. Hauer understood that a real artist didn't simply exist on set. They had to fight in real life for causes larger than themselves. Along with his art, Rutger Hauer continued to pursue his lifelong interests. He spent a lot of his free time designing and fixing trucks and motorcycles, something he had loved since he was a child. His workshops in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, were for students and young filmmakers who were just starting out in the field. Hauer didn't just teach acting techniques, he taught how to see the world with open eyes, how to listen to one's inner creative instincts, and how to give even the smallest cha. Throughout his life and career, Hauer's every move was a declaration of his independence from the constraints of fame, success, and societal expectations. In 1995, A Picture from Turkish Delight, 1973, the film that brought him international fame, was featured on a Dutch postage stamp honoring Rutger Hauer. This stamp was part of a larger tribute to those who made a lasting cultural impact rather than to transient celebrities. When people think of Hauer, they don't simply picture blue eyes under the rain or fiery rebellious rules. Rather, they remember him as an honest artist who sought the truth in every role, never performing to appease the crowd. They remember him as a philosophical rebel who lived, loved, fought, and left without ever giving in. With ease, Rutger Hauer is not just part of science fiction cinema, he is part of how we see the world itself. Complex, fragile, but always worth fighting for. A talented actor, he was a living declaration of freedom in art and compassion in life. Through a career spanning nearly half a century, Rutger Hauer proved that you could live fiercely, act fiercely, blaze across the screen with indomitable roles, while still preserving kindness, empathy, and honesty with yourself. Roy Batty in Blade Runner was just one brilliant highlight, but it was Rutger Hauer's entire life. From major and minor roles to charitable projects, quiet filmmaking workshops, and his freewheeling journeys in self-designed vehicles that truly created an irreplaceable legend. His career was recognized with numerous prestigious awards: the Golden Calf for Best Actor at the Netherlands Film Festival, 1981, the Rembrandt Award for Lifetime Achievement, Best Actor at the Seattle International Film Festival for his role in The Legend of the Holy Drinker, 1989, along with many other honors from international film festivals. Even after he is gone, the imprint Hauer left behind continues to resonate. This is more than just a photo of Roy Batty hunched over in the rain, sighing. It's a representation of the strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity and the beauty of love and acceptance of mortality. Those moments, the roles, the subtle deeds, and the profound messages will endure forever, like the rain's incessant flow of tears. Rutger Hauer, the philosopher rebel, the freedom artist, will be remembered in the hearts of those who were touched by his work. If you too feel a connection to the life of Rutger Hauer, a man who truly lived and breathed freedom, then please share your thoughts in the comments section. Let us know which of Rutger Hauer's performances resonated with you the most, or which aspect of his life prompted you to reflect the most. If you enjoy introspective narratives about art, cinema, and passionate individuals who inspire change, then please like the video and subscribe to our channel to embark on more adventures together. To ensure you don't miss any of our future stories, be sure to enable notifications. Your support allows us to continue telling stories like this one. Your invitation to explore the bizarre, liberating, and profoundly human world of Rutger Hauer is much appreciated. Until the next show, we will see you